Hey Bourbon brothers and sisters, Angry Mac back again to take you on my craft journey. But before we go on the journey, can you please subscribe? I think I'm around 310 right now. Let's get me to 400. As I said, small steps, one foot in front of the other, drive to 1K. But right now, I wouldn't be driving to where we're talking about. I'd be flying because I'm out to the Pacific Northwest, putting out some great whiskey. And you probably figured out what it is right now because if you're watching this, you're not blind. You see 2 bottles of Woodinville here. So I am headed to Woodinville Whiskey Company. Big company, big question that people ask when they talk about craft. Can these other parts of the country compete with Kentucky? And you know what? They're not trying to compete with Kentucky. They're trying to compete to get you some great whiskey. So the competition, there's no competition. There's no competition. Everybody wants to see everybody do well. You just want to see yours do a little bit better. But I'll tell you what, you want to talk about flavors, boldness, that's what we're going to get into. And then you can judge if they are better than some of the Kentucky brands. You can judge if they're better than some brands made in different parts of the country. But right now, let's face it. Woodinville seems to be gaining some traction, especially on social media these days with these new bottle shapes, these new or bottle designs. These aren't them. This is the old ones. With the 8 years they're putting out, the bourbons, the ryes, they have a beautiful book. But social media seems to be really pushing this. So the 2 owners, Brett Carlisle and Orland Sorensen, I believe, they're looking to turn what they have in Washington towards greatness. Are we leaning towards greatness? That is the question, and that is what they're trying to do. So let's see if we can figure it out. Why are they a great craft? They're everything a craft should do. They really are. They are making their own stuff. They're not an NDP. They're not bringing anything in, and I have no problem with NDP. Anybody knows me. I love a good NDP. I think there's a lot of good reasons, and we'll get into that another time. But this stuff is locally grown from a single farm in Washington. They are doing their own mash bills, they're fermenting, they're distilling, they're aging, they're barreling, they're doing everything it needs from start to finish. Start to finish. They're these locally grown grains, Washington only. So we're getting the Washington profile, starting with the grains, starting with the earth. So is it going to be better? I don't know if it's going to be better than everything, but it's certainly going to be better than a bunch of things. That I can tell you. The boldness is fantastic, and Brett and Orland were mentored by the legendary Dave Pickerel. So they must have learned some good techniques and how to do things right. Because if you know the name Dave Pickerel, it's synonymous with greatness. That is just how it rolls. If you know whiskey history at all, the man's got his handprint on so many great things. It just leads to greatness. Now, let's see. They go in the age, they throw a little trickery into it, a little curveball, if I must say. They're taking them and aging them. Once they're in the barrels, they're driving a nice scenic route through the Cascade Mountains to bring them up to a different part of Washington. I would like to say eastern Washington, if I remember correctly, because the temperature is much more variant. They're variables, and they really want that hot and the cold, and let the wood, let those barrels really do the work. The barrels that they've already aged, highly toasted, highly charred, left out, and nature really had their way with these barrels to bring some unique flavors from Washington. As I said, everything is done in Washington. Everything is done in Washington. So they have some aging magic, bam, unique. Let's get into it. So we have a bunch of bourbons, and the bourbons, I have 2 right here. I have the bourbon. This is a select. This is a private select. This is a pick from Sealbacks, which is one of my favorites. That's why it's not done yet. And that's what happens. Sometimes my favorites stay a little longer because I don't want to drink them as fast as the other ones, and I'm sure many of us have that problem. But the bourbons, they're rich. They're flavorful. They're full of caramel. They're full of vanilla. They're full of fruitiness, oaky, spice. They're everything you want in a classic bourbon with a Washington greatness, with a Washington little flair, a Washington little funk to it. Everything is fantastic. You know, they're not trying the legacy. They're not trying to be the legacy at all. They're trying to be Woodinville, and they're knocking it out of the park as Woodinville, as Washington. Let me go to the ryes. I had that 8-year rye. I don't have a rye for me. I had that 8-year rye, and it blew me out of the water. The nice sugary cinnamon mintiness, very unique flavors, the fruitiness. It wasn't a typical rye for me. It was more the viscosity of it. I'm telling you, that 8-year was fantastic. So they're really killing it with the bourbon and rye, both different things. We got the finishes. We're working on some experimental finishes. This is the apple stave. This is 100 proof, and this is one that I was trying to hunt down. I couldn't find it anywhere. It had to be shipped to me, and I walked into, believe it or not, my local Total Wine, and they had 2 of them. Somebody gave me a gift card to Total Wine. I was going to grab something. I couldn't believe it was on the shelf. They had 2 bottles, the only 2 bottles they got in, and the only other Woodinville they carried was the 90 proofers. Now, just to be fair and get into the good and the bad, and somebody's always trying to call when I'm in the middle of a video, just how it is. To be fair, I prefer the stuff from Woodinville over 100 proof. I think over 100 proof, you have that real good flavor profile, where the 90 proof is more of a starter. It's more rounded, it's smoother, it's softer. I like the boldness in the higher proofs, and this 100 is excellent. Apple staves, but they're also finishing in tequila barrels, they're finishing in rum barrels, ruby port, and something called ginja. Does anybody know what ginja is? I don't. I tell you this, I know what the ganja is, I don't know what the ginja is, but they are experimenting, and it ranges from delicious to absolutely incredible, and I do find this one absolutely incredible. These finishes are there to enhance flavors. You can still taste the whiskey. They're not hiding bad whiskey with finishes. They're not trying to throw some sweetness or the old bait and switch, the misdirection, trying to get you to taste something that's not there. You're still tasting whiskey. You're still tasting whiskey, and this one, it's a kiss of apple. This is really good. If you get a chance to get the apple staves, get it. I haven't seen it ever out in the wild except that time, 2 bottles. I probably should have bought them both, but I only have so much space and cash. Just saying. Woodinville, you want to send me anything, I'm willing to try it. Putting that out there too. But Woodinville has some issues because the distribution isn't great. So you have to see it online, you have to get it muled to you, you have to find a friend. The distribution for craft stinks. Like in my area, I very rarely see any Woodinville that isn't the 90, that isn't the entry. And I wouldn't spend my money on that. Maybe for a gift, but I spend it on the ones that are a little bit more expensive, believe it or not, because that's where I'd rather put my money, into the ones that are in the next category. And if you go on Woodinville's website, and I'll leave a link in the description, they sell everything, and the introductory bottles, I believe, are $39 or $49, and these are about $129, and they're every bit worth what you're paying for. In this case, and I believe in whiskey in general, you should be getting what you're paying for. So that is a problem, the distribution. The problem also is the limited runs. So when you see it, you got to buy it. Don't wait, don't hesitate, don't say, listen, I'll come back tomorrow, let me click that website, because you know what, it's going to be gone. So sometimes when you see these things, they're so good, they're bouncing off the shelves, disappearing like crazy. Go out and get yourself some Woodinville if you're seeing there. So let's get into it. Woodinville, fantastic. Craft, mashing, fermenting, distilling, aging, doing it their own way, local grains, bringing you some great product. I'm going to sample this Woodinville apple staves. While I'm doing this, can you please leave a comment? Please subscribe. If you want to comment, tell me some Woodinville you've had or wanted to try, or if you heard that was really good. I'm going to put this right in my Diamis. And if you do not have a Diamis tumbler, you may want to get one. I'll put the link there. I don't have a code. I don't have a discount. I don't get paid for it. I just think they're absolutely fantastic. I love this. This is 100 proof. This is so light. I can smell the apple off it right now. It smells like an apple cider whiskey with a great deal of honey and maple. Cheers, everybody. Yeah, Brett, all in. You're doing some great things out there in Washington. Washington, this is where my craft journey took me today. Find the people you love. Give them a hug. Tomorrow's no guarantee. And remember this, it's never what's in the glass. It's always who you're drinking it with. And right now, I am drinking it with you. Cheers, everybody.